that New York courthouse. This is now the trial proper. Here he was, arriving just a few hours ago.
Thank you very much. I just want to say before we begin, these are all Biden trials. This is done as election interference. Everybody knows it. I'm here instead of being able to be in Pennsylvania and Georgia and lots of other places campaigning. And it's very unfair. Fortunately, the poll numbers are very good. They've been going up because people understand what's going on. This is a witch hunt, and it's a shame. And it comes out of Washington. It's in coordination with Washington, everything, including the DA's office. It's in coordination with Washington. I just want people to understand that this is done for purposes of hurting the opponent of the worst president in the history of our country.
Well, a very angry Donald Trump. But let's try and cut through the noise. Let's find out what is really going on, and let's find out legally what actually matters. And joining me live down the line from Georgia is Chandelle Summer, defense attorney at Summer Law Firm. Chandelle, we're looking from across the other side of the pond. We can't quite get our heads around what is really going on here. So please explain. It's the trial proper today, both sides putting briefly their cases. What is actually at stake here, and what is Trump accused of doing?
Donald Trump is accused of miscoding or basically falsifying business records to hide and conceal hush money payments to a woman named Stormy Daniels, another woman, and also a doorman at his New York penthouse. The reason this is important is because of the fact that the underlying conduct is a felony. They're claiming that he tried to conceal these payments and was in violation of campaign finance laws in the United States. So if you can show that you put a business entry into your books that was false and it was to hide conduct which was illegal or to conceal conduct which was a felony, then you can be prosecuted for a felony. The penalties for what he's facing.
So one act, the act of itself isn't that serious. But if
That's right, it's a misdemeanor.
It's a misdemeanor, but then what the prosecution are trying to do is to say, but no, that links into the conduct of the election as well. It sounds a bit of a stretch.
Well, the problem with the prosecution's case is that they have not indicted him for the underlying felony of a campaign finance violation. And other government authorities, the federal government versus the state government, have passed on that opportunity to charge him with the underlying trying to conceal the records in violation of campaign finance laws. And this is an interesting case because a few years ago, there was a candidate for vice president named John Edwards who had, what we call in the United States a baby mama that he impregnated during the campaign, and he was paying her payments during the campaign. And he was prosecuted for doing that, and he was found not guilty. So there is precedence to show that if you are paying someone money, hush money, and it's for a personal reason, you're trying to preserve your marriage or something to that effect, then it is not necessarily a campaign finance violation. And it was sort of incidental to the fact that he was running for vice president. So Donald Trump is going to avail himself of that same theory.
Okay,
that he was doing his marriage rather than.
That's very, very interesting. And this, of course, is being heard before a jury. I don't know how many people they had to go through to get the jury, and how you can find anybody. It's rather like the O.J. Simpson trial all those years ago. How do you find anybody to go onto a jury who has a neutral opinion about Donald Trump as a person?
True that. Certainly, they had struggles picking the jury, but they did it very quickly. I thought, relatively speaking, they're not necessarily looking for people who like him or don't like him, although if you had very strong feelings, you were probably dismissed for cause. They just want someone who can be fair. And I thought it was interesting in this case that they put two lawyers on the jury. And that's because I think the defense will be very technical about the fact that the underlying felony has not been charged. that it's not a campaign finance violation, or that it could be interpreted in different ways. So the fact that they have a jury seated, and this is the first case widely recognized as being the weakest of the four pending criminal cases against Donald Trump, will be interesting to see what happens. It could certainly provide a lot of momentum if he's acquitted to the campaign, and it could also be very devastating if he's convicted.
So the best case scenario from Trump's point of view is that that's it, it's dropped, he wins. Would he get his legal costs back?
No, not likely. And of course, it seems as though his campaign is paying the legal costs. That seems to be who's funding all of these cases. I mean, his legal costs are millions and millions of dollars, and you can't really get your legal costs back for any criminal prosecution unless you can show bad faith on the part of the prosecutor, because prosecutors enjoy sovereign immunity from being prosecuted every time they have an acquittal. They can't then get the person who's acquitted cannot get money back. So I think they're sheltered. However, leave it to Donald Trump to file a lawsuit against the prosecutor if he is acquitted. He's a very aggressive litigant.
And the worst case scenario for Donald Trump?
The worst case scenario is that he's convicted and that he gets jail time, because the maximum sentence for this particular crime is up to 4 years in jail. Now, he's a first offender. He's, in his late 70s. Do I think he'll go to jail? Not in a million years. But I still think that that's his risk, and not to mention the damage to his reputation. Right now, he's able to kind of ride this into momentum with his campaign. He says at least, that people are on his side because he's being persecuted. So we'll see how that plays out.
Fascinating. Summer Law, thank you for giving us that summary of what is going on in New York, and will play out for what, the next 4 weeks, 5 weeks?
Likely 6 weeks. There's a lot of evidence and a lot of witnesses.
Yeah, wow. Summer Law, thank you very much.